Hey everyone, welcome to this week's Called video series. Thank you for clicking the link and checking this out. This week we are talking about enduring through life's struggles when you are actually trying to live out the calling on your life. It gets tough sometimes when you make a decision to do better, to do more, and even though God has given you the authority to do so, He's given you the license to actually live it out, and you realize your life is beginning to look different, those around you are also realizing your life looks different, and you are feeling the differences in your daily choices, and you're gonna have to endure through the struggles of life change, and that's tough sometimes. When I think about the term endurance, sometimes I think about the gym, and we have these endurance blocks, and it's really intimidating because you go on the treadmill, and let's say I ran half a mile today. Okay, great, I ran half a mile, and I'm really excited that I did that, and I'm like, okay, great, I think I'm called to do more. I think I could do better. So I decide to maybe run a mile the next time. Well, I know in my head, okay, I'm gonna run a mile today. How can I better prepare to endure through double the distance? I know there's gonna be struggle involved, so how can I prepare to do well? So I know I need to drink enough water, I know I need to eat right, I know I need to stretch before I get out there so that I can endure through the distance. And the breathing's gonna be tough. I hope I don't trip and fall. There's gonna be issues throughout the run, maybe not necessarily on the treadmill, but you never know. So but you have to endure, and you're gonna have to endure through daily struggles. Can you study all night long and still take that test? Yes, you can. Can you go to work at so early in the morning to make that first thing meeting and sit through it and probably get yelled at? We've all been there. And you're gonna have to endure through struggles on a more serious note. You're gonna have to endure through this life change that you're experiencing, and people commenting on it and saying, "Oh, why aren't you hanging out with us this weekend?" Or "Why are you working so hard over here?" Or "Why are you going to church on Sunday? You didn't normally go to church. Why do you care now?" Or life change that includes maybe a loss of a job, a loss of a family member, a loved one. That is life change that we have to endure through daily, and that does not seem to get easier over time. But how can we lean into God, and how can we live out the calling on our life even with that struggle hanging on us? I think a great example of that in the Bible is the story of Esther. She has her own book in the Old Testament, so check it out. She was, a young woman living in this town, and she was taken, and she became the queen of over the land of Susa. And it's in the Old Testament. You should definitely check it out. She becomes queen, and she's over, this whole nation, staying next to her king, and there's another man in the kingdom who's trying to sneak attack her culture, her whole nation of whom she represented. Well, because she became married to the king, she took on his role, but she knew who she was, and she knew, who she represented, which was the Lord. Well, when this man tries to take out her nation, the only way to save them is if she stands up. Well, she can only stand up in those days if the king says, "Esther, do you have something to offer in this conversation today?" He has to address her back in those days. Well, she knew that she could not wait just for him to be like, "Hey, how's your day going?" This is something major that she had to step out in faith and say, "Okay, I've got to do this, even if my life is going to be on the line." Well, anybody would be a little nervous about that. So she goes to her cousin Mordecai and says, "I'm kind of freaking out here," which I'm paraphrasing, duh. But she says, "I'm kind of freaking out here, and I don't really know. I know what I probably should do, and I know that I need to just endure through the what if my life really gets laid down on the line, but can I do it?" Well, her cousin comes through, he says, "Esther, what if you were meant to be here for such a time as this? What if you were meant to be where you are right now in 2017 for such a time as this? What does God have, what life thing do you have in front of you? What has God put in front of you where you're saying, okay, there's a huge what if, but if I go for it, there's a major risk involved, but this, I could actually live out, this could be what I'm called to do. This is maybe the need that's been waiting on me and God to use me to fill this need." Who knows? And so Esther prayed, she fasted and gave up, so food for a time for her so she could really focus in and get some strength from God and say, okay, what do I do from here? God puts a piece of grace in the king's heart. The king hears her out. She steps forward and says, hey, please save my nation. And the king takes care of things, and God saved the whole nation, her whole nation, through her actions. And that's a total testament of what can happen if you endure through the what if in your life and trusting God to carry you through that moment, and what could happen in the end. It's an awesome, awesome story that is not just a story, it's a real thing that happened. And what can really happen in your life if you take the same strength and same endurance that she did. The Bible gives us verses on how to do that, and one of which is in 1 Corinthians 12:9. It's so good. It says, for my grace is sufficient for you, and that my power is made perfect in weakness. This is God saying, my power is made perfect in weakness. And Esther's moment where she is most weak, oh my gosh, my life is on the line if I step forward and risk it for these people, my people, what's going to happen here? God's power is shown its mightiest when we give him everything that we've got and say, I don't have anything else to offer. Where do I go from here? And God says, watch me. It's so awesome that he just helps you out and takes over for us like that when we will fall short, and also he says, my grace is sufficient for you. When we're having a great day, when we're moving through life and we're saying, hey, man, God is good. High five to you. High five to you. God says, my grace is sufficient, and I love you, and enjoy this moment. There's so many times in our life where we're going to be met with daily struggles that, have we prepared for? And if we can't prepare for a certain struggle, like the loss of a job, the loss of a loved one, the loss of something that's important to us, if we can't prepare for moments like that, how do we handle moments like that? Well, God shows you how. And he says, and also in 1 Corinthians, but we're backing up into chapter 10 now. 10:13, it says, no temptation has overtaken you that is not common to man. God is faithful, and he will not let you be tempted beyond your ability. But with temptation that may come, he will also provide the way of escape so that you may be able to endure it. When you are tempted to give up, when you're tempted to just let the what if go by, he says, I'm strong enough, I'm going to help you endure this moment. He loves us that much that he's willing to give up his only son on a cross to die so that we can be empowered with the Holy Spirit to make the big moves in life, and that he'll come through for us. Just like he came through for Esther and saved her nation, what can God do through you and come through with you when you choose to endure through the tough moments? When you do endure through those tough moments and your life looks differently and you're living out the calling on your life, even on a hard day, people will begin to see the differences that you are feeling in your heart. And when people are watching that, you in a way are discipling them in how you're living your life. If you're living your life in order to honor God and to do more and to live out a calling and to do something with where you're at in your life, you're ministering to these people, and they could potentially become disciples of the life that you're leading. Well, if you're leading a life that leads them closer to Jesus, high five, because they are going to be led to live out the calling on their life, and change is made one person at a time. And I'm a total testament of that, of the people who've lived out the calling on their life. They've risked the what if moments to trickle down to me, and here I am trying to talk to you, and I just hope that God is speaking and that you're feeling this right now, because I sure am. But I just want to encourage you and to tell you that next week we're going to be talking about discipleship and what that looks like when you apply that to the calling on your life, and maybe the calling on their life, and how that looks for them. After discipleship, we have our last week, and I'm super excited to talk to you guys about that as well. So stick with me, say your prayers, and I hope you guys have an awesome week.